All right. All right, I think we're good to go to kick off the meeting. Welcome, everybody. And Felicia DiPaolo with Economic Development is going to go ahead and take roll.
Okay, and I know that we're going to flub Elaine Correa because I don't have her replacement listed in here, and I know that she now has a replacement at ED. But we will start. Lucinda Saito.
Lucinda Cito present. Thank you.
Stephen Moisey.
And he's excused, Felicia.
Leo Delgado.
Present.
Okay, Leo. Steve here.
Present.
Cabinet Secretary Lynn Trujillo. Speak Chair James Koviwa. Tom Cole. Anna Linden Weller.
Present.
Alyssa Latucci. Deputy Secretary Cordova.
Present.
Secretary Rodriguez. Deputy Secretary Trujillo. Joanna Nelson.
Present.
Jana Barr.
Present.
And I believe that's everybody.
And hi, everybody. It's James Koviwa. I joined just now.
All right, great. Welcome, James. Welcome, everybody. Good to see you. Hope everybody's doing well. I'm glad you had a chance to tune in to the best task force in the state. This is the greatest group, so it's good to be here with you. I want to mention something too. I don't know about your other agencies, but we're starting to offer in-person events. So I'd love to, on the next call, if you're in Santa Fe, more than happy to open up our conference room at EDD if you want to participate in person and show up and have some coffee and tea. That invite will be available for you, and we can do a hybrid meeting because it'd be great to see all of you in person and be able to chat. But welcome again. We're going to get going. Hopefully we can get through our meeting pretty quickly and be cognizant of your time. So I'm going to move to the second agenda item. And I did put that agenda link in the chat. Can everybody see that? Because I did put it before folks joined. Can you see all of those links in the chat? Okay, great. I tried to load it up with the things I was going to reference. So just a reminder, you can find agenda, you can find previous minutes, and then the previous videos of our meetings on our Set Force Sustainable Economy Task Force page on the EDD site. So you can see that agenda and follow along. And then you also can access the minutes from the last meeting. And that's our one action item for the meeting today is to approve those minutes. So if I could get a motion to approve those, that would be great.
This is Yolanda. I'll move for approval.
Thank you. We got a move. If anybody wants a second.
Steve Burke.
Steve Barrick. All right. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All right. Any opposed? No opposition. All right. Thank you. So moving on to the Actually, I think our agenda items were a little flipped, but moving on to NMEDD program updates, I was wanting to share with you, as always, some of the programs that are relevant to this work related to strategic planning, economic development, as well as just anything related to Senate Bill 112 and the mission of this group. And so first off, I wanted to give you an update on our Healthy Food Finance initiative that is a cross-agency collaborative working with many agencies run through the governor's office, led by the governor's office, Kendall Chavez. And we were able to hire a coordinator that is focused on providing technical assistance and financing to underserved businesses and communities. So that position is live, ready to go. The person is Erin Ortigoza, and I'm hopeful maybe at the next meeting, she and Kendall can give an update on their work, because it directly is focused on diversifying our economy, supporting sustainable ag, as well as creating access to healthy food. And we are creating a fund. And we do have a current RFP out, and I put that link in the chat where you can see HFFI RFP. And that RFP will close on the 30th. And we're looking for a financial institution that will be able to house the fund and be able to loan and grant monies to ag businesses and food systems projects. So keep your eyes tuned to that. Another update that's relevant to this task force, and I think Felicia, just pausing really quick, if you could mute your phone, I think there's some background on the phone audio. That'd be great. The next update is the SSBCI State Small Business Credit Initiative. New Mexico is receiving $74 million over the next 10 years. And since we last met, we finally got our allocation approved. And as of right now, we are in the process of setting up that program. And that is, right now, we're funneling monies into a venture capital equity program, and we're working with our investment manager, Avivar Capital. And then we're also putting funding into our collateral assistance program. So these are two channels that are enabling access to capital, especially for socially and economically disadvantaged business owners. We have to get both of those programs up and running within the next 90 days. So if you just keep that in mind, those are both in action, and those will both be available very soon as part of the development finance toolbox that we do a lot of work to support and get help out to our businesses. And I see Deputy Cordova, you have a question.
Yeah, so I'm just, yes, I do have questions. So with those particular funds, is there going to be like, I'm wondering, like any targeted approaches, especially in the Northwest with the closure and all of the work that's going up in that area to help develop some of those businesses up in those areas with the closure of the power plant? I know we're all trying to organize and coordinate that, right? Because there's a big push to try to, I know our job is to train folks into like new business or to new developments, but we're also wondering what's being developed, up in those areas so that we can make sure that we're training into the right things.
Deputy, thanks for that comment. We're still in the process, since we got our allocation 2 weeks ago, of developing the strategy. So I'm going to take that comment and pass that on to Avivar Capital as well as the investment committee. And I think it's fantastic and well taken, and we'll put that out to them. I think that's great. I failed to mention too that also we're going to get a page up on EDD, because there is quite a bit of inquiries coming in about SSBCI. How do I access the information? How do I access the programs? As well as providing comments like yours, Deputy. So we'll get that up, and I'll be able to share that with the group too. But I think it's a great comment and very well taken.
And I'll be sure to share it with Secretary Nyer too, because she's in the process of working with that group up there. There's like a whole task force folks. So we probably just need to make sure that they're also just aware and somehow that we align those efforts up there, especially for, I mean, I think we're laying off like what, 300 people up in that area. And then just the trickle down of what's going to happen with all the businesses that are going to be impacted as a result of a loss of economy up there in terms of folks not working. So just want to make
Thank
sure
you.
that's taken into account, that that's a really high need area right now for sure, as we're trying to diversify an economy up there post the closure of the plant.
Thank you. You know what we could do, Deputy, that your comment made me think of? We have the investment council that is set up, that's 8 members and 8 representatives. That's an informal group that we put together to provide checks and balances on the strategy development. But we could get Avivar Capital, the firm that's helping us develop the program, we could get them in front of this group as well when we get a little bit further along with the strategy, and put that in front of you all and get further comments and further into depth on that, because I think you would have some great feedback. If that sounds good. Okay, I'm seeing some head nods, and I think it'd be great. I'd love to go more into depth with that and get that on the record. Okay, so that'll be coming probably in the next couple of months. And Anna Linden, I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, this is probably something that you've already thought of, but I recall both from previous meetings here and other meetings with EDD and some presentations in front of interim committees that the program that was previously running to do electrification of businesses is not currently funded. The feds didn't fund it this year. I don't know if that's an appropriate place for venture capital money. It seems a bit weird, but also possibly a good fit. And the number of businesses that have reached out to MNERD as if we had somewhere mysterious amounts of funding to fix their problem is we're getting into the high single digits now. And so I just wanted to flag that as if we can figure out how to fund a program like that one in a different way, especially with money that is a guarantee from the Treasury, that would be a real benefit to a lot of people. That's all.
That's a great comment. The Investment Advisory Council meets on the same schedule as this group in the afternoon, and this is great notes that I'll be able to pass on directly to them, and then also get it on the calendar for them to come in front of you all when we have a more developed strategy and get your feedback. What are we missing? What are we getting right? But that's great, Lyndon. Thank you. All right, no, I don't see any more questions, and I'm going to move on to the next EDD program update. And a lot of you participate in those working groups with the discussing infrastructure funding, but related to ARPA and how EDD is utilizing ARPA funding, we do have our EDA, Economic Development Administration project, that is still currently active, but that enabled us to hire a staff of 4 to build out this recovery/resiliency team. And we've been focused on the strategic plan, and we're still working on that. We'll get into the RFP soon, but it's important to note that grant ends in September of 2023. And in fact, we have a conversation with EDA to discuss how can we continue this work. It's really become evident that the staff and those projects that we're able to work on are really filling a crucial need. So I'd love to just throw that out to the group, that's where we're at, of figuring out how do we continue that work, especially as it relates to strategic planning, increasing capital for access for businesses and communities. All right, those are the EDD program updates related to SetForce's work. So I'm going to move on to item number 4, the discussion. And as mentioned in the last meeting that we had, we are taking the state plan, the strategic plan, and we're assessing where all of our agencies are currently with some of the action items that were identified for those agencies. And I think we've beat this into the ground, but there has been no direct guidance at all. This is just simply a really organic assessment to figure out what is relevant, what is not, to be able to move forward as we're updating that strategic plan. So Felicia DePaula at EDD has been leading that work, and thank you all for your time and meeting with her. And she's going to give a quick update of how that work is going.
Sure. So as of right now, I have spoken to 19 agencies and organizations. We need to speak to about 10 more, so about 65% complete in collecting data. We do need responses or alternative contacts for the following agencies. So if anybody can drop recommendations in the chat box, that would be great. For ALTSD, DWS, HSD, NMMFA, Tourism Department, and PED. I had sent emails out, but didn't get responses from those agencies. So if maybe it was somehow skipped, would love to resend the email and get a meeting set up. Majority of agencies have started to work on the recommendations and are considered in progress. So that was really good to hear. And then there was also the frequent response of waiting for the green light from EDV to get started on the recommendations. And then finally, the final response that agency or organizations provided was, they weren't aware of the recommendation, but everyone was willing to get started on it and just needed some type of guidance. So that's the basis of the update. If anybody has questions, please feel free to reach out. And again, anyone that is open to scheduling meetings from those agencies would love to chat and get something scheduled.
I certainly will be your contact over at DWS. I mean, I'm just like, I'm concerned about that. I was like, what? How did we miss that? We've been working on a lot of stuff together. So yeah, we just need to get that organized. So I just don't, and if it hit my email, I apologize. My email is sometimes can get slammed, but I could easily pull a group together so we could have that conversation with you.
Perfect. I will shoot you an email, Yolanda. Thank you so much.
All right, great. Thanks, Felicia. That work that you're embarking on is really the foundation. As you all know, as we're going to focus for the next several months until June 30th to have an updated strategic plan. So it's really crucial to have that foundation set of where we're at. So then we'll be able to engage additionally with what are the edits, who are the folks that we didn't talk to around the state. So I'm going to move on to the next sub-bullet, which is the state plan RFP. And this is, I'm going to share my, I have all these screens pulled up. I'm going to share my screen. And this document is in the shared Teams channel that this group has. And just as a reminder, within your Microsoft Teams, you should have access to a channel called SetForce Seek, or maybe it's just SetForce Access. Felicia, if you want to put the correct title in the chat, I can't see it, but within that channel, you can find all of the relevant documents that we've been talking about. Feel free to add anything. This particular document is complete draft form, but I'd love to go over it really high level and get your feedback. This is the RFP that we are hoping to put out, I would hope, very soon within the next week or so, and publish this to find a contractor that will be able to actually engage with the data, impact, collecting feedback from agencies and communities, and actually write the updates to the plan. So again, you can find this. I think the link is in the chat, and you can see my screen really quick, but high level, I just wanted to show you what the components are. I feel like it's a lot that we're having to put into this RFP. And my big concern is, are we going to be able to do it all? What are our priorities, and making sure that those priorities are in there. I'm glad you're here, James, because there's a particular question related to community engagement. I want to make sure we get, and then what are we missing? I'm always so nervous that we're going to miss something, so I'd love your feedback on that as well. So first component is sustainable, the SET force and SEEK administration and coordination. EDD, like all of our agencies, is really at capacity. So needing that additional help to really even note-taking, scheduling, basic administration and coordination would be very helpful. And that extends to SEEK, as that's an all-volunteer group. And Chair Poviwa, James, is stretched thin, as well as all of the folks there that are volunteering their time. So you can see some of the bullets related to the administrative work, compiling and organizing stakeholders or other relevant work, advise SEEK Chair regarding the development and deployment of equity framework. And so I'm not sure if that's a direct fit, that sub bullet. But as you know, our SET force is really relying on our advisory council to develop the equity framework, as well as the community engagement piece. So I'm curious if that makes sense to put that bullet there. Then we've got a couple more components. Overall state plan data collection. So this is focused on enhancing the data that has already been collected in the first analysis and enhancing that work. So that, of course, includes primary sources like data sources that are already in existence, but it also includes the secondary data that is interviews, surveys, round tables, and is really relying on the community engagement strategy that we've got a draft. But we would really be looking for advice from SEEK to make sure that this go around we are listening to and getting voices that we didn't hear the first round, and making sure those underrepresented and underheard voices are at the table, including tribal members that we really struggled with the first time. So this is related to the state plan data collection. I did pull out another component for community engagement, just making sure that that is underscored, that we're continuing to develop the engagement plan created in June that Hatchform has in those recommendations. And I did put with consultation from the SEEK, and conduct community engagement sessions to engage public for feedback as needed. And then the next component is just the straight up revisions and enhancements to the plan, actually writing the plan. So the contractor is compiling the data, compiling the feedback, and putting it into the updated, edited version of the strategic plan. And a lot of this language was taken from the first RFP to write the strategic plan. And then one of our charges, as you all know, is to present the information related to economic diversification, related to the progress of the strategic plan to the legislature. So again, as a reminder, this plan is due to be finished by June 30th. And we would ask that contractor to provide presentation documents that are ready to go, presentations that are ready to go for those legislative committees, as well as this task force and the SEEK. We'd also want to get recommendations for information to put on the website. And then last, again, not sure if this is a fit, but we've gotten feedback from communities on implementation. And so I'm wondering if our contractor would be able also to provide some strategy around how we can coordinate better with economic development organizations and communities around the state. So looking for advice or recs on implementation strategy. So those are the main components, and I should have numbered these, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I know I'm throwing this out there to you. If you have feedback in this meeting, great, open for discussion as well. Offline, feel free to put your comments in this live doc too. So I'd love to open it up if you've got any comments off the top of your head. Anything standing out that just blatantly is wrong or something that you would add. James, I'm putting you on the spot, but do you think, you know, I'm kind of confused on how the equity framework fits in. Would we want to have a separate component to it, or do we get what we need with a bullet right here?
You know, I think the only word that I might change is advise, because it really does depend on the capacity and the background of who it responds to the RFP. So if it is an organization, a contractor who has a lot of experience engaging on equity and inclusion, then it'd be helpful to get their advice on it. However, if it's somebody that does not have a lot of experience with those issues, then I think what the SEEK would need is just support in ensuring general outreach to community. And so, yeah, that's the only word I would change there. And I think this really accurately reflects both the needs. Well, I'll speak for SEEK. This RFP does reflect the needs that we have as a volunteer committee, and then also my role as chair. So thank you, Johanna and EDD folks, for putting this together.
Thanks, James. A little bit enhancement too on that discussion is that when we take out that equity inclusion framework development and the assistance, as well as the community development, that contract gets larger, and then we have this work. So we were trying to figure out, does it make sense to put it all into our one RFP versus we're getting two smaller contracts and worrying if that's enough money to get those two things done. So I'm sharing that too.
Yeah, and maybe Johanna, you can review what the numbers are and what's available in terms of funding.
Sure. So we have $100,000 to spend each year, starting July 1st to June 30th. For the next 5 years, this will be our, I think, second round. I'll have to check. And if you look in the channel, the Teams channel, if you access that document we reviewed last time, that bringing the plan to life roadmap, it does identify some of the numbers that we were starting to play around with, and trying to fit it within that budget that we have. Thanks for that question, James. I'll put that, let's get that defined too. And Deputy Cordova, I saw you had your hand raised.
No, and then I took it down because you answered some questions that I had. I think that the only thing that's kind of bubbling up in my brain is that we're going to be in process of updating the state workforce development plan because it's due. It's time for that. So all of the worlds need to collide at this point. I'm hoping that we have a much better process where, I mean, we went out for the last plan, we went out to the community and we did all that, but we're going to also try to do much more engagement and alignment with plans that key agencies that we need to be working with, like economic development, also HED, and we have been working with PED, but really putting some more, I guess, just really highlighting more of that coordination and work that's going on together so that we can really just have something that's strategic and that all of our agencies are responding to and doing in partnership. So I'll be really interested in some of the engagement processes that you do as a result of this work and what the outcomes are or those conversations so that we can make sure that we're somehow gathering that and sort of thinking and digesting it as we're putting our workforce plan together for the state. And ours is a 4-year plan, so
When
it's
is
good
it
timing.
due, Deputy?
We're in the process of developing our RFP as well. Our plan expires in 23. So we're also going to be, putting ours together. Obviously, once the election is over and we have what the priorities are of the administration, that also is what drives us as well. But I don't have the exact due date. My brain kind of goes off on it with the feds. It's a wonky process, but we're going to start kicking off in the spring for us. Spring to summer mostly is when we start our engagement and we start to collect our data, start to collect conversations and engage in community conversations around what we should include.
Okay, great. Thank you. And you had a comment too that makes me feel like we could put in this edit update that the enhancements, the edits, the updates are considering the priorities that are going to emerge from that work that Felicia has started, as we start kind of parsing out where the agencies stand and the administration stands too. So thanks for bringing that one up. And I didn't see who raised their hand first, if that was Deputy Trujillo or Anna Linden. Deputy, you want to go ahead?
Sure, thanks. And mine is really piggybacking off of what Deputy Secretary Cordova was saying, is HED is also planning to start a planning process in interim of 23 that is long overdue. And so for us, I guess I would also ask us as we engage in this interagency work to think about equity amongst the agencies. For instance, we absolutely want to be a part. I've met with Felicia, and but for instance, we have over 20 priorities on our spreadsheet that we're looking at, and we have a very shallow bench. We're an agency of 37 people, and so if we could also think strategically about how we can work together, stay on the same page, but also understanding that that we're working on multiple plans across multiple agencies in addition to kicking off our own. I just want to put that out there. So as we plan, we can maybe perhaps think about how we take care of all sizes of agencies together.
Well, and I think that's the beauty of all of the conversations we've been having more than ever, because I've been involved here with DWS, going on my 6th year, and this is like the best that it's been. So at least there's greater awareness on DWS's side in knowing where the benches are for EDD and HSD. So I think there is a lot of opportunity there, and I'm excited about this next state planning process because I think we really do need to include the pieces that we can support and we should be working on together and promoting together. And our plan should be your plan also around some of those workforce development pieces that you guys are parsing out. So how do we drive those all together as a state and not just as separate agencies? So I'm excited about that.
Maybe that's what we can kind of frame this entire strategic plan as, is it's something around coordination this go around, and doing, because I think I've shared this a few times, but we did compile that first go around maybe 60 different plans that mention economic development around the state, including state agencies. I think we could do a better job at actually coordinating that information. So I think I can rewrite this where it focuses more on that coordination. And I'm so glad, deputies, that you brought that up, because I think that's a key piece that this is missing a mention of. Thanks for flagging that. And Anna Linden.
Well, I've been scooped by 2 agencies now, and I don't want to get ahead of the next agenda item either, but I do want to echo how much what Deputy Secretary Cordova and Secretary Trujillo said about their plans and how they're putting them together with the Governor's Climate Change Task Force 5-year plan, which we are like in about halfway done with at this point. And I think a great number of either you or your agencies have heard from us or will be hearing from us to do that coordination. But that plan is meant to be iterative and updated every year in terms of what has occurred and changing the timeline of goals and actions. So I think that in the process of developing this like deep cross-agency collaboration, we should figure out how we keep doing it so this isn't just one time. So that even if you have a different contractor every year, that there's a process that we all know that sometime in like the fall of each year, we all get together like we are right now, or maybe using this task force, which is one of the like most collaborative and genuinely awesome groups, to talk about where we all are and make space for that, and to kind of lock it into agency culture that we build plans that all reflect each other. And I loved what you said, Deputy Cordova, that our plan is your plan. That's the whole idea that we've been trying to do with the climate plan, is basically building a plan that reflects what people are doing and are thinking in each agency. So yet more echoes.
Thank you. And I see Elaine, you have your hand up, which this is probably your last meeting, correct?
It
Before
is,
you
yeah,
start a new
Johanna,
chapter?
starting a new chapter. I'll still be working in career technical education, but more at a national level. So I'm pretty excited about moving up and leaving behind an amazing group of people and amazing relationships. I just wanted to mention that Michelle Ribeiro at HED has been trying to get buy-in for a proposal from Jobs for the Future to do plan alignment. And I'm not sure how that fits into this conversation, but I thought that it would be worth like retouching on that and just putting that out there for consideration, because JFF has already done quite a bit towards the plans that already exist. And I don't, and beyond that, I don't really know. I know that they have already written a proposal to be responsive to conversations that they've had with HED, and it may not be as broad as what you're conceptualizing, but it might be worth revisiting that.
And
So
if
glad
I
you brought
may,
that up.
from the HED perspective, if we could have that conversation sooner rather than later, that would be critical, because we're really in the decision-making process of whether or not we're going to maintain that across the agencies and share the cost. And so I know that Michelle has been doing a great job, and thank you so much, Elaine, for flagging that here.
Yes, thank you. All right, I'm going to move on. I don't see any more comments, but I knew this group would be good for some great feedback. This is fantastic because, as mentioned, I am going to add a lot of the comments that were around coordination, and JFF included, to make sure that that's more of an evident focus when the contractor is reading this scope. So again, I'll probably let you all know via email when we've got a pretty fleshed out draft in the Teams channel. Feel free to tear it apart. It's not like you have all this extra time to just read through a huge RFP, but if you want to focus on the scope of work, the deliverables, if anything's catching your eye, I'll put the final RFP in there, and then hopefully we can get this thing live pretty soon. So I'm going to go ahead and move on. And we have, that was sub item B on number 4 on the agenda. And then the next update was the industry councils. And I thought that would be a good thing to update the group on. Industry councils were brought up in the original strategic plan. And as a way to focus on the 9 targeted industries, to really hear directly from those 9 targeted industries about their needs and to make sure that challenges were identified. So Deputy Clark has been working with the New Mexico Chamber to get that going and really trying to focus where that's being led by private industry. So we're not, the government really isn't mixing in or influencing that, and it can be a pretty pure organic feedback from industry. And so right now, I don't have my notes in front of me, but right now the 2 industries that they're focusing on are space and I'll figure it out. I'll put it in the chat, but there's 2 industries that are in the process of getting set up, and these are being looked at as templates and protocols to be able to establish so the rest of the 7 industry councils can be set up. And right now that's pretty much the update, and I'd love for you all to know that. And as we get more information on that, we definitely can be reporting on the feedback, obviously, to this group of what's the outcome from those industry councils. But just as long as you know that New Mexico Chamber is really leading that work, and I'll get you some information on that. I'm going to blame it on having COVID just like last week or something. So sorry that I'm forgetting the other industry. I'll put that in the chat. Really embarrassing. But anybody have any comments on that? Still very early stage, just a good heads up for you guys.
And we're partnering with the chamber on that to do the kickoff on the initial one. So we're going to actually help with some funding so that we can get that project off the ground.
Oh, great. Do you know the other industry?
I can't. All of a sudden,
Okay.
my brain went dead too. So I think
all right,
I know maybe it was because we're starting out with value add.
Yes.
Alternative energy. I think it's alternative energy. Yeah.
That's it. I'm so glad our 2 brains we can get there.
We were going to start with alternative energy, but it's a little too controversial to start first, so that's why we went with the other one so that we can get that going first.
And I know maybe it's just the wording, but it is focused on sustainable energy, and then space are the 2. Mm-hmm. So I'll confirm that with this group. But thanks for the reminder. My notes are sitting on my office desk. I know exactly where they are, not where I am right now. All right, so I'm going to move on to sub item B or D, climate change task force update. And Maria, are you here with us? There you are. Hi, Maria.
I'm muted. Hi.
All right. We invited Maria here from MNERD, who's leading the climate change task force. As it was mentioned, Anna Linden mentioned that there's a lot of overlap between this group and the work that the climate change task force is doing. So it'd be great to get a quick update and continue this collaboration and communication between the 2 efforts. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Maria, for a quick update.
Yeah, thanks. Hi, everybody. I want to introduce myself. I'm not sure that I've met most of you. I started working here at MNERD in March, and I've been learning so much. As Anna Linden mentioned, we are in the middle of creating a 5-year climate action plan. And this work has really been in process over the last few years. You all have probably been involved in some aspect of it. The Climate Change Task Force was created from an executive order in 2019, and the Climate Change Task Force was given direction to institutionalize and create strategies for reducing greenhouse gases and adapting and mitigating climate change effects in New Mexico in state agency operations. And a lot of those things have been done. A lot of those things need to be done. And so what we are putting together right now is a climate action plan that really helps state agencies in particular understand where we want to go in the next 5 years. A lot of the work that was done in the last few years has been really focused on emissions. But as Anna Linden and I started talking about what we wanted this plan to look like, we realized that we also really wanted to focus on mitigation and adaptation and make this a real holistic plan that talks to what New Mexicans are going to experience and how we can support New Mexicans in this decisive decade. So we have as Anna Linden, we're about halfway through creating this plan, and where we've been focused for the last several months has been on goals. And you folks have all helped us create these goals through the work of climate action teams over the last few years. We've also identified the need to expand some of those goals, particularly in those areas of adaptation and mitigation and a few others. And so we have been, or we will very soon come talk to you about what these goals are. But the real exciting thing that I'm hearing in this meeting and what Anna Linden and I have really been trying to focus on is that this plan is really implementation focused. And so we want this plan to be something that supports you all in work that you're already doing or want to do as we move into this future that is uncertain because of the effects of climate change. So we will be updating this plan annually. We will have those opportunities to collaborate and coordinate. And I think that as we move forward, having more conversations like these, either at this task force meeting or at the climate change task force meeting or whatever we decide to do, is going to be the most important part of implementing these plans, because we all know we can't do it alone. And we all know that we're doing some really great work. And so let's continue to do it together. Anna Linden, you want to add anything?
I think you basically covered the whole thing. I think that I want to reemphasize the point on implementation and also thank Maria for coming to talk to this group. This is one of my favorite task forces, so it's nice that we get to share it. But I do want to emphasize the point about implementation, including the fact that we are trying to arrange these goals that have been developed in concert with state agency staff, with state agency leadership, with the community as well, and place them in, if not a specific timeline, a general sort of organizational timeline, like these things go first and these things come second over the course of a 5-year period. So one of the conversations that we are likely to be coming back to, probably people at the sort of management level that tend to be at this task force, who can set priorities, is coming back with our goals and actions relevant to your agency, as developed in many cases by your staff, and asking in what order should we put them in the next 5 years. So you'll be hearing from us in October about that, October through November, with the hope of this plan being released in January. So that's where we are. And if you have questions for Maria or for me, we're happy to answer them.
Great. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And I have to echo Anna Linden's sentiment. We're so happy you're here, Maria, from ADD's perspective too, and leading the charge with the Climate Change Task Force. So happy to work with you both.
Happy to be here. Thanks.
All right, next up, chugging away through the agenda is our advisory council update from Chair Poviwa, who, James, I just saw you on. We still have you. There you are. Hi, James. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Johanna. Good to see everybody. I just wanted to give a quick update on some of the equity principle work that's going on for the Sustainable Economy Advisory Committee. As a reminder, I had previously presented on equity principles that I and many others from the community had worked on with the support of MNERD to create equity principles for the Governor's Climate Change Task Force. And that is really going to be the jump off point for what SEEK recommends to this task force in adopting principles that speak to economic development and just economic transition. We will want to thank NMEDD staff for taking an initial stab at those principles. Hope to be able to present something to you all this coming at our next meeting, hopefully in October. We will also be meeting the Sustainable Economy Advisory Committee, as we do monthly, the fourth Tuesday, which is next Tuesday at 3 o'clock. You all are, of course, invited to attend whenever you choose. And on our agenda, we'll have a couple community partners presenting, one of them being Ricky Seguin, the Executive Director of Interwest Energy Alliance. And she'll be talking about utility scale renewable energy development of and beyond compliance with the ETA. And she'll also be talking about how New Mexico is well poised to benefit from regional demands and how that intersects with just economic development. So excited about that presentation. In addition to that, folks from Conservation Voters New Mexico will be presenting on various opportunities in the upcoming legislature around comprehensive climate reform and additional work that also has the intersections with just economic transition. Happy to answer any questions that you all have. And I also invite any one of you to present to the SEEK around your agency's priorities for the next year, anytime that you like.
Thank you so much, James. I'm not seeing any comments. What I'll do too, James, is within our, which I recognize, I don't think Teams allows for external use outside of the state agencies, but so you know, I'll put the information about the SEEK meetings in the discussion. It's like a chat feature that'll be accessible to everyone if you ever forget or don't have it on your calendar. And I'll put the login in, James, for the meetings.
Sure. And, you know, the only thing that I'll add, Johanna, right, is as we were talking about the RFP for a contractor to help support on this work, that really is going to add to the capacity of the committee to actually fulfill its mission. So I personally am very much looking forward to getting on a contractor to help us do all the good work that we need to do.
Hear, hear. Yes, agree. All right, great. Thank you. I'm going to move on to any task force member updates. If any of the members have any updates related to your agencies and work that's relevant to this task force, feel free and raise your hand. And I want to remind folks too that we do put out we've changed it to bi-weekly, but we put out that newsletter every other week that lets businesses and communities all over the state know about opportunities, open positions. If you've got any open positions at your agencies, any RFPs, especially related to this work, we're more than happy to help promote it. So feel free to email me or Felicia on that too. Great, not seeing any updates. Do we have any public comments? Anybody from the public that would like to say anything? Not seeing anything. So I'll move to the last agenda item, and that's to adjourn. And before I do that, I want to thank everybody so much for your time, your valuable, valuable time, especially on this work, as it's taken a while for us to get going, but really excited, as James mentioned, to get that RFP out and get cooking on this thing so we can update the plan and start engaging with everyone around that work. So thank you so much. I'll take a motion to adjourn. Anybody has
I
one?
move to adjourn. This is James.
All right, thanks, James. Is there a second?
I'll second. This is Anna Linden.
Thank you, Anna Linden. And all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Okay, thank you all so much, and talk to you soon. We'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Bye.